Hello, David. Thank you for being patient. You are up next, sir.
Hey Bart, can you hear me?
I can. How's it going?
How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, so this hand is from Jack in Cleveland.
Jack in
Basically,
Cleveland. I knew that there was a Jack in Cincinnati. Oh, maybe there's not a Jack in Cincinnati anymore, right?
no, it's I can't remember what it's called, but there is one in Cincinnati. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a 2-5 no limit 500 cap, 8-handed,
Okay.
and there are three villains in this hand.
So 500 cap, 8-handed. So I don't know if you caught the previous call, and I don't know what the rake and drop structure is in Cleveland, but although I did hear there were a lot of guys from Ohio that moved to Florida. I
Mhm.
remember my buddy Joey Sal because the games were so bad in Ohio that good players were battling it out at the $5 blind 500 cap, which sounds like a nightmare. I don't know if that goes on anymore or if they play a larger game, but okay.
Well,
So
well before so the switch to 2-5 500 cap about 5 or so months ago. Before it was 2-5,000 cap, and game would never get going.
really, okay,
Yeah, it was just non-existent essential until the weekends, really. But now it gets going every day, and it's an excellent game.
okay, all right. So 8-handed, okay,
Yep. Defective stacks. I am with 1900.
okay,
Main villain in hijack is with 1500.
okay.
Villain 2 on a button with 800, and villain 4, not important this hand, in the low jack with 1800. So we're pretty deep.
So who's the guy that's going to come into play the most? You got everybody covered, right?
But yeah, hijack
And he's
with
got 18,
15.
15. Okay, so let's say
Yeah.
like 1500 effective. Okay,
So preflop action is low jack raises to 15,
okay,
hijack calls,
okay.
and I'm in cutoff with 10 of spades and 10 of diamonds, and I 3-bet to 65.
Sounds like pretty decent plan. I might go a little bit on the larger side, larger than this here as a squeeze. I mean, obviously you definitely do want to squeeze this hand. You're going about 4 plus like $5. I mean, it's if you went 3 plus the caller, it'd be like 60. Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit on the smaller side for these stack sizes. It's just a little thing to note. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. The table dynamic was a bit weird. People are 3-betting to like 35 and 45.
Ugh.
So 65 is like a large 3-bet hit, but it's just
Yeah.
a weird table dynamic for past 2 hours.
Okay.
Um, so button cold calls the 3-bet.
Button cold calls. Okay. Button cold
Yep.
calls. Yep.
Low jack calls, so original razor calls,
Uh huh.
and hijack calls.
So, looks like you're going to see a four-way flop, right?
Yep.
Four-way flop.
Four-way 3-bet flop.
Four-way flop. So, okay.
Pot is 260. Yep.
All right. 260. Yep.
Flop is jack of spades, 10 of hearts, 7 of spades.
Jack of spades, 10 of hearts, 7 of spades. So you flop a set.
Yep, middle set.
Middle set. Okay.
Low jack and hijack both check,
Okay.
and I bet 130 into 260.
So hero bets 130 into 260, about half the size of the pot. This is,
Yep.
it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's live poker, right? I mean, how often are you going to see pots and three bet pots in, four ways? But I mean, one of the things I would say here is that it's sort of an action type of board for these types of ranges. And then it's great that you unblock top set, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I might even go a
So
little bit larger, to be honest with you. But
yeah, that's what the Discord was saying, that I should at the minimum be at 175 here to 200.
well, I mean, I'd have to sort of eye the stacks again. I mean, you said that it was like the low jack initially, or the low jack was the initial raiser with like 1300. You said something like that
1800
with 1800. Yeah, I might
Yeah.
start going bigger to get more money in there. I mean, you've got those two big stacks. I mean, it's just a little bit, I think, sort of subtle here. And again, this is another probably really good example of a small stakes exploit where, I mean, we don't usually talk about that much in 3-bet pots,
Mhm.
but where you're kind of betting a larger sizing based upon almost like the value of your hand. Because if you look at this from a balance perspective, it's probably not a great flop for like aces and kings, and you might actually size down. So when people
Right.
try to play super balanced or get in these situations, they start checking to try to be balanced, and it's like, well, are you trying to be balanced or you're trying to win the most amount of money in these games? Is sort of my response.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about. Like if I had aces and kings, what I would do. But I think exploits should be just bidding bigger here.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
So that's probably a mistake. Button calls,
Okay.
low jack folds, and hijack calls.
So
main bidding calls.
okay, so button calls, low jack folds, who was the original guy that opened, right? And
Right.
then, okay, so it looks like we're at like maybe 650 now, something like that.
Yeah, we're at 650.
Okay.
And turn is a queen of diamonds.
So queen of diamonds on the turn, does that change anything? Well, it changes the fact that somebody might have ace king.
Right.
Someone might have ace king. 8-9, of course, was already there, and then if someone had like king 9 is actually double gutted. I don't know how wide these guys are. King 9 suited was actually sort of a somewhat hidden double gutter on the flop to an 8 and to a queen too.
Right. That's where the turn the hand goes crazy. The hijack now leads for 250.
So the hijack now leads for 250.
Yeah.
And he's got about, well, he's pretty deep with you, right?
Right. He started with 1,500.
So he's got over 1,000, and then the button has what, 800 or 900, something like
He
that.
started with 800, so he's probably
short.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're never gonna fold against a button jam, right? Anyways, right? Like if you called and the button jammed, you're not gonna fold, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's already put in half his stack. He only has 400 left, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't fold to a button, and also the little thing about button, he was pretty tilted in this hand because he was at 2,500 when I sat down, and I won a couple big hands against him, and he lost a couple other hands, so he ended up at 800. So, not sure how he's probably pretty wide, calling my 3-bet. So I can't fold there.
It's an interesting little turn. The more I think about it, because I'm trying to think about like what you would do if you actually, how often are you c betting ace king number one? I find it very hard to believe that the hijack is ever going to play like ace king this way. You know what I'm saying? Like him himself playing ace king, right, where he peels and then leads on the turn. So you most likely have the best hand here. And again, like it's not like you're going to fold to the button anyway. So it kind of sort of comes down to, if you do just call, the button's going to be getting an incredible price here coming back around. I mean, it's going to be like 1150, 250 for him to call. And there's multiple draws out there, one-liners, flush draws, things like that. I'm not talking about protecting, but I'm actually trying to talk about so he doesn't get the correct price in direct odds, because the pot is so much like that. So, your my sort of gut reaction here is to sort of call, like it's all of a sudden this guy just check called and then led. But for those reasons, I think I can actually get on board with a raise. Mm-hmm. And then I guess the question would be then if the hijack were to, I can just almost never expect the hijack to 3-bet jam, because even if he has king 9, he's not going to 3-bet jam. So
because he's worried about his king. Right?
Yeah. So
one thing very important that I forgot to mention. So hijack is a reg. He plays every night, and he's known to be very tight.
By the way, too, the hijack called the low jacks open. That's a good point too, right? So no 3-bet initially. Another reason why he doesn't have ace king. Yeah,
that's right. And I don't know what will be his frequency of flatting with ace king against. Now, low jack is one of the best players in Cleveland, so perhaps there is that dynamic as well because they have history. But like I said, hijack is very tight and pretty much plays passively all of his draws. Mm-hmm. And when the money starts to go in the pot, it's basically he's got it. It's a made hand, typically very strong made hand.
So what do you think he has then?
Well, the alarm bells went off, because what is hijack double flatting, right? 8-9 suited, jacks maybe. I'm blocking obviously jack 10. Queen jack is what I thought could be, but then he should be worried about ace king.
Yeah, you don't think that he would just like donk lead there? I mean, listen, I don't think it's terrible to just call, but it's interesting because of that guy behind you. Hey, right. I mean, okay, you're sort of letting him at a free shot of equity, and then sometimes it's it can be very, very unfortunate for you too when something happens where you could have gotten more money in, but you don't, right? You don't because some sort of action killing card comes right at the end or something like that, right?
Right.
So
I called,
okay.
and the button calls.
Why do I feel I don't know the answer to this, but why do I have some sort of you know what hand makes the most sense to me here? I swear to God, King 9. I said it before. I think this might be King 9. So hero calls, I don't know what it is, and the button calls, right? Yeah. So now we're at 1400, right?
1400, and I'm not sure if I have the best hand, right? I'm sitting and I can't put. So the guy hijack is tight, and all of a sudden he's putting money in. Alarm bells going off, and then what does the button have?
And by the way, the button's put in half his stack. He only has like 400 left, if not less than that.
He owes
right?
350, I think. Left
yeah. Okay.
So the river is a 6 of clubs, so just total brick.
Okay.
And hijack bets 650, so near half pot.
Well, it looks like the button bricked out on the hand. You don't really have to worry about him, right?
Right.
I mean, do I feel like folding sets in these games? I'm glad that he didn't bet because he had like what 1,000 left in his stack, something like that.
Yeah, why not ship, right?
He's got like whatever 1,000 and change, 1,000 left in his stack. So I mean, you're getting better pot odds here. Do I like to fold sets in these games? No. And then I think that we can just throw out the fact that the button really, we don't have to worry about him. So it's not traditionally like a multi-way spot, but I don't know if I make it fold like this. It's just, does a hijack ever have ace king here? It seems like king 9. Here, put it this way. If he went like 1,100 all in or whatever he had, I'd think about it. But for this price, I kind of, I don't think it can be that terrible to call, but it is very troublesome.
Right.
When Queen Jack probably wouldn't take this line.
Never. He would never do that with Queen Jack.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about what am I beating, and I just can't find much. Pocket sevens.
So what did you do?
I actually folded just because of his image.
Wow. Well, that's a very exploitable fold. Well, I mean, listen, I know some like really, if you know the guy, OMC types, where they're just always going to have it, but it's a giant exploit. I mean, we definitely have to come to that conclusion, right? For sure.
Yeah.
So what did the button do?
Button snap folded. Later he told me that he had a king 8 of spades.
The button.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you ever find out what the other guy had?
Yeah, the guy immediately opened his hand and said, I know you had a set, and he shows pocket sevens.
Oh my God. What, he showed pocket sevens, he knew you had a set, and then he's claiming he turned it into a bluff?
He said he represented ace king, and he turned his pocket sevens into a bluff. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what I call button clicking a little bit too. So there's always that. That's why I would have probably called with the price.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've just seen so much weird shit, but that's really, really rare. I don't know if I mean, if you're telling me he said it and then he showed it proudly.
Immediately.
Why can't you have like pocket kings or pocket aces there? How does he know you have a set?
Yeah, I don't know. He put me on a set exactly.
Especially when a lot of guys on the turn would raise your hand. So I don't know, but I mean, if he said it, he said it. But that's I kind of like the. And again, I mean, it's like one of these things where you're just giving the button behind you direct odds. And also, too, the other thing, too, is just that he had a huge draw, the button behind you, too. Right. He will probably get it in with you on the turn, whereas if you brick out, now you don't get that value, right? He just folds off at the end. You see what happened
there? So you're
there?
Suggesting to raise the turn, right?
That's what I'm saying, yeah, because there's going to be a lot of hands where he might be like two-way combo drawing, or there's going to be hands where he's on a draw and he'll get it in on the turn, but then once he misses, you don't get that value, right? Now, obviously, this was a huge, huge one, but definitely an interesting one. Yeah. But thanks for the call. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, David.